Welcome. Adam from Box Jump Brands. I had this conversation yesterday with a gym owner, and it was how can we improve our show rates, I should say, for leads. So obviously, there's a couple of techniques that you can use to improve show rates. I'll go through. I actually split this up because there's actually two categories that you need to be thinking about. So one is getting more appointments scheduled to begin with, which means once you've got those leads, how do we actually get them in the door? And then once you've got them in the door, the second one is once you've got them scheduled to come into the gym, then it's how do we actually get them to show up to that scheduled appointment. So it's really improving show rates is actually a two-step process. It's getting appointments of new leads scheduled in, and then it's the, I guess, 5 steps that we use to get those appointments to show. So there's 8 steps here. So here's the 8 steps split over 2 main categories of how to get more leads to actually show as a gym owner. So the first one is, I guess, once you've got the leads that have come through your Facebook ads, Google ads, etc., it's how do we get those appointments scheduled in to come in for whatever you're doing. An initial consultation, not my favorite thing, but a free trial. One of those, I guess, lead magnets or appetizing offers that we create in order to get the leads in the door. How do we actually do that? And how do we actually get more people scheduled into those appointments from just being a lead? Obviously, we need to do something with leads as quickly as possible in order for that to happen. So the first thing that we need to do to get your appointments scheduled, which means get leads actually scheduled in to come into your facility so you can have a conversation with them or even just schedule a call with them, is, for me, the most important thing is to automate that scheduling process in terms of as soon as they've put in their lead details, the next page they should be taken to is a calendar page where they can book in a time automatically without having to speak to you. Okay? The amount of people that are actually going to do that won't be huge. I would say less than 1 in 5, less than 20% will actually automatically schedule in from leads. At least this is from my experience. Go from being a lead to automatically booking a time to actually come in with you. Okay, so less than 20% will do that automatically for you, that you don't have to do anything else. You just have to jump to the next step, which is getting those appointments to show. But you need to set up some sort of automatic, they filled in their lead form on your website. They then get forwarded to a calendar page where they can book in a time on that calendar. Okay, if you like working with us, obviously, and you have CRM, that they then fill in their lead form and they get to redirect straight away to a calendar where they can book in with the times that are available based on you and your trainers. That's the first thing you need to do. Automate the scheduling process so that 20% that are willing to book in without some extra hand holding will book in. Okay, that just saves you that extra time. The second thing is if you want your leads to actually get scheduled in for appointments, easily the biggest factor in just getting sales in general is speed to contact, but this comes into effect as well with the fact you're trying to get leads to actually book in and schedule. So if you're a gym owner and you've got plenty of leads and then you're finding it really hard to get them to contact those people, they're not answering their phones, etc., the fact that you're probably missing that you could improve dramatically is speed to contact, which means how often are you getting in contact with those leads in the first 5 minutes? So they've done a lot of studies around this, and if you're able, and you can just experience it firsthand, if you call a lot of leads early on within the first 5 minutes, you'll see a massive increase in whatever you're asking them to do. If you're asking them to purchase over the phone, you're having that sales conversation, or you're just getting them booked in for a conversation, having that speed to contact within the first 5 minutes will increase your, I guess, appointment scheduled rate or even sales dramatically. Like it's crazy how much of an effect it actually makes. The reason I believe for this is a thing called prospect theory, which basically means, like, if you think about like a motivational chart, as they see your ad and they start typing in their details and they submit their details, their, I guess, interest in what you're actually doing or talking about and their commitment towards it is basically at its peak. But then as soon as they've submitted that, entered that and clicked that submit button to enter their lead details, because nothing's happened, their motivation starts to drop. Right? And I'd say in that first 5 minutes is when, obviously it's at its highest. After 30 minutes, like, it's starting to drop quite significantly. And after 30 minutes, they basically hit a point where it starts mellowing out because they're almost near the bottom, right? And it still gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on. So realistically, in that first 5 minutes, that window is when you have the best opportunity to either close them on a sale or get them scheduled in for an appointment and them actually be pick up the phone and be interested. in the first 30 minutes, you still have a pretty good chance. After that, I'd say it's basically like evens out a bit and you've, lost a bit of motivation there because they've finished submitting their form details. They've gone on to do something else. They've been scrolling on their phone even more and they're just not thinking about that anymore. They haven't got the same level of motivation as when they were putting in their contact details. So if you want more of your leads to be scheduled, contact them in the first 5 minutes. Okay. And the third and final one for getting more appointments scheduled is just the amount of times you actually reach out to them. So Zig Ziglar talked about this in his book, The Secrets of Closing, where he mentioned they did and I've actually gone and seen other people talk about this in the actual study, where he mentions this study, and I think they've done further studies since he wrote that book, about that the average salesperson, they did a meta-analysis of like all the salespeople, I think it was in Europe, that thousands of salespeople, and there was a very small contingent, like 1% of the top salespeople that make a big percentage up of the commissions. They, and this is the case in a lot of scenarios where that 1% make a huge amount of the actual sales commissions or money to be made. And they're like, well, what are these 1% doing that make them so successful? And what they found was the top 1% reached out to people on average a minimum of 8 times. Okay. All the other salespeople that weren't doing as well, they reached out on average 4 times or 5 times, which means they were reaching out to these leads less than half the amount of the top performing salespeople. Okay. They then looked into this in more detail and they found that it takes at least, I think from memory, don't quote me on this, but from memory, it takes at least like being contacted or 6 touch points before someone feels like they want to purchase from you. So if you're only reaching out to someone 4 or 5 times, and on average, the average person takes 6 touch points before they feel like they want to buy from you, you're not meeting the requirement. Therefore, if you want more appointments and you want your leads to become more likely to become members, you need to increase that outreach volume, like the top performing salespeople. So if they're doing a minimum of 8, you want to start be looking at 12 to 20 touch points. So you need to put in a process of some sort. Again, if you're using like a good CRM or something, but even if you're just using a spreadsheet, lead comes in, it's on the spreadsheet. How do I make sure that I'm reaching out to this person minimum of 12 times before I write them off as a lead? And that's probably a bit different from at least the gyms that we've worked with from what they're currently doing. Contacting a couple of times, the lead was no good. And that's a problem because the data shows that you need to be contacting them more times than they are on average just to get a sale. So if you want to improve your appointments scheduled or you want to improve your sales, you need to increase your outreach volume probably significantly to make sure that you're not wasting those leads. Okay. So if you're trying to get more leads scheduled to come in for classes, for nutrition consults, initial consultations, etc., even just sales consultations, then you need to do those 3 things. Automate scheduling so that they can book in a calendar time themselves. Speed to contact them in the first 5 minutes, and outreach volume, which is contact them realistically, I would say a minimum of 12 times. If you get those 12 touch points in per lead, you're doing enough, putting in enough effort per lead that you're not just throwing those leads away. And you can do a mixture of that between like automated text messages, reach outs, and you actually double dialing and calling. Okay. So that's how to get appointments scheduled. Now let's go through the 5 key tasks you need to do or factors you need to implement in order to get those appointments to actually show up, to get those leads once they've been booked in to come in, to actually get them to show up, and basically not just do that. Yeah, they've been booked in, but then they just disappear and they never answer their phone again. Okay, we've all been pain in the ass, so we don't want that to happen. So the very first thing that you should be doing, and I saw a lot of people talk about this online, and I tried it. I saw a huge increase in the amount of people that were able to get to show up for appointments, which was send them a personal video message. And that sounds so basic. Like, all you have to do is pull out your phone and be like, oh, hey, James, just saw you booked in for an appointment at 3 o'clock tomorrow. I'm Adam. I'll be the guy taking you through your initial consultation. Can't wait to meet you, mate. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? So just by doing something like that, you are able to create more of a personal connection because it's not just text messages, it's not just confirmation emails. It's an actual personal video message with their name, talking about how you're going to meet them and what you're going to do, and it makes them more confident that you're, I guess, going to just help them and you're not going to like just push something on them, and that it actually breaks down those barriers because you're actually a real person, that you're starting to build that rapport with them, not just, expect them to rock up because you've sent them a text message or two. Okay, so that's the first thing that we usually talk to our gyms about doing, and we've noticed it makes a huge difference. The second thing that I really like doing, which is a bit of like a hack, is giving them some sort of reason to come in, like an offer. So I usually suggest go out to your local chiropractors, physiotherapists, sports massagers, supplement stores, and get some sort of gift voucher for them. Say to them, hey, I'm getting a bunch of leads in my gym. I would love to give these leads, a little gift voucher towards your business. And this would be free leads of me giving towards you, because then they would come into your, massage therapy and book in a discounted massage. And you may not make as much on that first massage, but then, you're able to then sell them yourself on getting more visits. So you're basically giving leads to other people in your area that would want the same clientele for free. Okay. So number two is basically just being like, hey, here's a gift voucher for the sports massage down the road. Here's $50 off the first visit. I wanted to give this to you just for coming in today. Really cool guys, it might help you out. Right. And if you can stack them together and be like, here's $50 for the sports massage, and here's $50 off the physio, and here's $50 off the supplement store on purchases over $150 or whatever. You've given them like $150 worth of gift vouchers just for coming in. So I like to integrate that into the personal video message. And not only have you sent them a personal video message to build rapport, but now you've actually added value for them coming in, because you only give them $150 worth of stuff. And they hear the $150 and think, yeah, sure, why not? That's pretty good. Okay. The third one is scarcity and urgency. So making sure that we add scarcity and urgency to the appointment, particularly if it's associated with some sort of offer. So the way we do this, if you're running an initial program, which I highly suggest to get people in the door so you can do so profitably, then it's basically just saying to them, hey, we only accept 3 people per week, and the next cohort starts on Monday. Okay, we've added scarcity, we've added urgency. It's like, if you're not going to, get in for this spot, then someone else is going to take your spot. And you increase that even more by saying, oh, and by the way, like, we're booked out for the rest of the week with appointments, so this really is your last chance. Okay, by increasing some sort of scarcity and urgency and not being so desperate, like, oh, I can't wait to see you in, and, you being the needy one, it makes them feel like they want to come because they want to get something that is scarce and therefore valuable. They don't want to be, you like desperate after them. Someone being clingy on a first date is not attractive, so don't be that as a business. Okay. Fourth one is, again, outreach volume, making sure that you've reaching out to them multiple times before their appointment, even starting a little bit of a conversation with them. Just making sure you're keeping that contact up and keeping the interest up, and making sure you're not booking appointments more than like 2 to 3 days in the future. If they can't rock up in the next 2 to 3 days for an appointment to come into the gym, then it's just like, well, when are you going to work out anyway? Like, if you can't come in the next 3 days, when were you planning to work out? Because, working out once every 3 days or once every 4 days is probably not going to get you where you want to go. Okay, so only booking appointments, allowing appointments to be booked in the next like 2 to 3 days, and then keeping in touch with them over those 2 or 3 days, not just go radio silence and expecting them to rock up. And the fifth one is having an automated reminder sequence. This is really easy. This is basically just like they get an email and text message, 48 hours before, 24 hours before, 12 hours before, and 1 hour before. Okay, and you can do these automatically, or you can give yourself reminders so you send them more personalized text messages. It's really up to you. But having that reminder sequence, so there's reminders on a regular basis leading up to the appointment, just to make sure they don't forget. Because people get busy with shit. It's not that they don't care or they don't value your time necessarily, but a lot of people are very busy with a lot of different things. They've got kids, they've got jobs, they've got medical issues, whatever it is. So you need to be there reminding them and keeping them, I guess, showing up to what they already agreed to, because it's part of their commitment. So you need to be able to do that. So the 5 things that we say in order to improve the number of appointments that show once they've been scheduled is send them a personal video message, add some sort of benefit, such as gift cards to local businesses for rocking up, making sure you're adding and implementing some sort of scarcity and urgency in the messages to let them know that you're not really that desperate and that they might miss the opportunity if they don't come in, is making sure you've got a lot of outreach volume and you've got some sort of reminder sequence. Ideally, just automate that, make your life a lot easier. Okay, so the 8 things are, first 3, for getting appointments scheduled, automate the scheduling so they can book in a calendar themselves. Speed to contact them within the first 5 minutes. Outreach volume, making sure you're contacting and reaching out to leads at least 12 times, I would suggest, to make sure you're not missing opportunities with leads. Appointment show, so the 5 things you need to do to get appointments showing are the personal video messages, the giving them some sort of benefit, scarcity urgency, outreach volume again, and then an automated reminder sequence. So they're the things that we've sort of found work really well in order to get people going from lead to actually rocking up and actually talking to you. We need to get them to schedule an appointment and we need to actually get them to show up. And they're the things that we find work the best and we try and pass on to our gyms because we see that they work. So I hope that helps. If you have any issues with your leads and you feel like, oh, my leads are crap, I'm not getting enough quality leads, then maybe just start doing things. You'll notice there's not too much difference between the leads. It's just what you do to them and the sequences that you can control that actually make a bigger effect to the type of lead quality than maybe you're thinking that you're getting from different lead sources such as Facebook or Google Ads. Hope that helps and see you on the next one.